the main breadwinner. She didn't come from a privileged background. She was one of the first in her family to complete college and get what we like to call a good job, quote unquote. And so it just, I had a flood of emotions when I read that. And I wonder if anybody listening has felt that way. But that's what came to mind with the Superwoman image, that we're supposed to be all things to all people in our lives, and that's, damn near impossible.
That does seem pretty much impossible, but somehow that super black woman, or sometimes referred to as the angry black woman, it has existed for quite a while. It can even be traced back to, historically, back to the slavery era, where the black woman was doing everything. She was keeping the family together because families were split, and that's where we get that extended, relative, that where one person is everybody's aunt, because it would often be the black woman that had to not only nurse all the children on the plantation, but also keep other children when the moms got taken or the dads were taken. And she was the overseer, so she had to deal with people suffering from trauma, emotional trauma from being split up, the abuse that was taken, soothing them, and often nursing them back to health. So it really goes far back, what the black woman had to take on.
Not to mention, that's true, sister, and not to mention that she was at the sexual behest of whatever white man or woman, I'm assuming, I don't know, that was on that plantation.
Right.
I mean, for the white people, it was a sexual buffet. But for the women, everything you described, yes, plus sexual abuse. So that's a lot to contend with. That's the kind of stuff that gets in your DNA and doesn't leave. So, and somehow, sisters have been able to pretty much keep it together, but at what cost? Our health suffers, our emotional and physical health suffers. I remember reading an article one time where this was a middle-aged sister. I think she was in her late 40s, early 50s. She had breast cancer, and she did not want to go to the doctor. She just kept working. And when she finally went to the doctor, the nurse that was taking care of her said that her breast was so cancerous, it looked as though it had been turned inside out.
Wow.
That's a hell of an image, because this sister did not want to stop working and did not want to put a financial burden on her family. Her breast looked like it was turned inside out. That's how bad it was.
And so we know that, a lot of times we're not able to get to a doctor for a number of reasons. But it seems to be with black women and women of color in general, to me, that we often put off going to the doctor, sometimes because we don't have the health insurance, but a lot of times it's because we are not wanting to miss that day of work. And with COVID-19, it's exposed that a lot of people go to work sick when they really shouldn't be.
Yes.
But I think it's almost out of this expectation that, I have to go in, I have to work, they need me, people cannot get along without me. But do we stop and say, well, how am I going to take care of myself so I can stay around longer, for the people in my life that I care about and that I want to see, healthy and taken care of. So we talk about self-care, and it's almost like a cliche, self-care now, because it's something so easy to say. Yes, it's something so easy to say, to do, but are we really doing it? I had went to a talk to Stacy. I'm not sure. Miss Cheryl Sumler and Janice Sumler invited me out, but talk to Tasha. I'm sorry, talk to Tasha. And what they were saying is self-care isn't always going to get a manicure or a pedicure, because if it's always that, then how do we relate in a time like this when we don't have nail shops open and we don't have these beauty places open or spas open, so that puts a whole nother spin on self-care. And we're talking about it starts with that. So what does self-care look like in the house? What does self-care look like during a pandemic? And it makes it definitely more difficult.
Right. Last week we were, Sister Sandra was on, and I was talking about how it's important to pray and meditate, and she was saying, well, that's a given. And I started to contradict her, but I wanted to be mindful and respectful, because sometimes it's not always a given. Sometimes we think we're too busy to pray. We're too busy to meditate and take 20 or 30 minutes to just be by ourselves, and take a mini vacation, or even to take a nap.
Sometimes just to take a nap.
Yeah, what I worry about, Sister Maria, is what are we teaching the children who are watching us? Are we supposed to work until we drop because we're exhausted? Or are we supposed to set a good example for them? In addition to making sure that they have a good work ethic. And I think that's part of the conundrum as well, that part of the stereotype is lazy black people. And to be quite honest, I don't know too many lazy black people.
To be honest, I don't know too many lazy black people. I know it's hard to get them out to certain things, but not lazy, yeah. I agree. So I just want to, from a medical standpoint, read a little bit read the abstract of some research that was done on the Superwoman schema. It was released by the National Institute of Health, and it's titled Superwoman Schema: African Americans Women's Views on Stress, Strength, and Health. So I don't want this Black Superwoman syndrome to be just something that yeah, we already know about that. Yes, we know that Black women are expected to do exceptional things, and we do exceptional things at exceptional paces. But I wanted to just highlight some of the stress and health strains that it poses on us. And I know if we have already been required or felt like it was our obligation to be a superwoman before this pandemic, then I can only imagine how much more stress we feel to keep the family together, to keep the family healthy during this pandemic. So I'm just going to read the abstract. Researchers have suggested that health disparities in African American women, including adverse birth outcomes, lupus, obesity, and untreated depression, can be explained by stress and coping. The strong Black woman, superwoman role has been highlighted as a phenomenon influencing African American women's experiences and reports of stress. The purpose of this study was to develop a preliminary conceptual framework for superwoman schema by exploring women's descriptions of the superwoman role, perceptions of contextual factors, benefits, and liabilities, and beliefs in how it influences our health. Analysis of 8 focus group discussions with demographically diverse African American women yielded themes characterizing the superwoman role and personal or socio-historical contextual factors, like what we talked about with slavery and the role of the Black woman. Participants reported that the superwoman role had benefits like preservation of self and family or community, and liabilities, which is the relationship strain, stress-related health behaviors, and stress embodiment. So we're just holding that stress in under this superwoman syndrome. The superwoman syndrome framework might be used to enhance future research on stress in African American women's health. So that's just one study about.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Sister Maria. When you were reading the part about health outcomes, and it made me think of two very famous women who have, money and influence that happen to be athletes, Serena Williams and Alison Fox, the track star. Both of them had difficult pregnancies at the end and very, scary, almost near-death experiences. Now, these are women who have the best health care that money could buy. So why is it that they're still having, the same deal medically that any of the rest of us can have? So I think it's important, this subject that you brought up about the superwoman syndrome, for Black women to be aware of this and to be mindful that maybe there are things that they can do to reduce the problems with it.
Okay, we thank you for that, because we definitely want to dive in more into these health factors, and we also want to get stories. We want to hear you guys' stories, because one thing that these studies have found that I went through today is that oftentimes Black women are silent. We're silent about what we're going through. We're silent about the real stress and strain. We'll often play it off like there's not as much going on as is going on. And what that does when we're silent and when we're not getting our story out, it's not allowing us to heal. Wow. It's bottling up that stress, and it's not allowing us to heal. So we have another caller, and I just want to see if they're listening or if they would like to join in the conversation. The last four numbers of the caller's phone number is 3413. Caller 3413, are you there? Caller 3413.
I was hoping they want to share, but maybe they're just listening.
Okay, yeah, that's fine if they're just listening. We do have some people that are viewing the live stream and also listening via Facebook. Because I know that calling in is not usually how people want to, interact unless they're calling somebody personally. So just please feel free to just call in and listen also.
I have a question for you, Sister Maria, and I'm asking you this question because you're the mom of two young girls, know, and when you think about this Black Superwoman syndrome, do you put it in context about your daughters? Because I know all parents want better for their children than, what they've gone through, our parents and our grandparents and all that. I get that. But when you were researching this, did you think about the effect that it might have or could have on your daughters?
Yes, I do. And it made me confront some of my own biases. We always want our Black girls, because we've had to be so strong as Black women. We oftentimes want our young Black girls to be strong, so we raise them to be independent. We raise them to, you don't need a man, which, I'm not saying that you necessarily have to, have a man to fulfill your life, but it's in the sense of taking care of yourself. You don't need a man. You have to be strong. And but we kind of coddle our boys because we're like, hey, you're gonna come into a cruel world. We know how they black young youth and men are targeted so often by law enforcement, and just racism, the systemic roots of racism in general, and stereotypes.
Right.
So it's like we want to give our boys, this affection because we feel like they're going to get tossed out into the world and they're going to be, gunning for my boy, sometimes literally gunning for your boy, where you feel like your girl, they're more vulnerable to other types of abuses, so you want to make them strong. So it's almost like I've given my boys more affection, whereas my girls, I've more instilled in them about strength and protecting themselves and being independent, when it really should be a balance taught to both our boys and our girls.
I hear you. I hear you, and I think a lot of parents have done the same thing. I know that my mom did that with my sisters and I. So it's not just you. And I have 5 nephews, and they were pretty spoiled by all the women in my family. So I feel you. I can agree with you on the approach that many black families have. And it's difficult because the world is changing, and I don't know if the expectations are changing, but I know that our viewpoints are going to have to change about the way we raise our black boys and our black girls.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sadly, the racial we're still being disproportionately targeted by police, and that is both men and women now. I'm thinking Sandra Bland and things like that, but I don't want to get off topic. But I hear you. I appreciate you answering my question, because we didn't have any girls in my family when my nephews were coming up, so I didn't really understand the perception. So I appreciate you sharing your viewpoint on that.
Right. And I don't want them to think that you are supposed to push yourself to the point where you're, breaking down mentally and emotionally. I'm definitely not perfect. I definitely make mistakes as a parent, and sometimes I have let things build up where I have broken down, and my kids have been there, to witness that. And so it's sometimes almost some shame, attached to that, because it's like, I don't want them to, see me weak. But is that really weakness?
Sometimes, I don't think it is, though, Sister Maria. I mean, I was raised by very, strict parents. Many of us, I'm quite a bit older than you, almost twice your age, and so I think it's different for me in my era. My parents were law. Whatever they said went. You could not question them, and they were like giants, right? So we never saw them. I never saw my parents cry. I saw them fight and argue, but I never saw them cry and show that soft side of emotion. Now, my mom, there were hugs and giggles and, tickles and all that kind of stuff. But from my dad, no. But from my mom, it was always, listen, you fall down, you get up. Don't cry too much.
Yes.
Be tough. Your job is to go to school. So I think it's wonderful that your children see the human side to being a parent. Parents are not supposed to be robots. They're supposed to be human.
Right.
So I think that's a good thing.
Right. And they showed that stress hormones are contained in tears. So when you cry because you're upset, when you cry because you're depressed, you're actually releasing stress hormones that come out in your tears. So it can be healthy to have a good cry. Yes. So I like to bring some science to the table. I'm not a doctor. I look up the information. I definitely make sure I'm finding credible sources. And I let people know when it's just my opinion.
Yes, that's true, folks. I mean, for all of you who've been listening to the show in the past, Sister Maria does her research, and I have learned a lot from her over the years that I've known her. So, wow, this subject is just, the mind reels, and makes us wonder, like, okay, so if we have this Superwoman syndrome, where does that leave the men in our life? I mean, where does the strong black man come in? And I know he's there, and there are a lot of good black men in the world. So
yes, so we will definitely talk about the role of the black man and how do you support these superwomen, these so-called superwomen. I don't even want to put that extra pressure on women to feel like they have to be superwoman, but I do want to explore because this is a real condition and this really affects us, So I pulled up another article, and this is The Strong Black Woman and the Black Superwoman Syndrome by, I hope I'm not saying her name right, Joella Bea Uzuri. She wrote this article in 2019, and it's mymahoganyproject.org. But I put the link on the show, so if you're watching live stream, you can visit the link. And this to me just breaks down the characteristics of the black woman, the super black woman syndrome. I am tired, but not the simple sleepiness that can be solved by a little nap. No, this exhaustion was beyond the physical. As I talked to some of my close friends, all black women, we all seem to convey this mutual shared fatigue. Oddly enough, we never talked about slowing down or taking breaks or dialing our life back a few. On the contrary, we actually talked about how we were going to beat the exhaustion by doing different tasks, jobs, and activities. So even as black women are talking about this syndrome and the fatigue, they're talking about battling it by putting more tasks on themselves. So it goes on to say, black women and the feeling of being able to do it all and be it all, almost to superhuman levels, withstanding all feelings of fatigue and exhaustion. Most black women can attest to this feeling and the urge to do more and take on more. This is known by many as the strong black woman, and more recently as the superwoman syndrome, super black woman syndrome. The black woman syndrome is different for every black woman, but it is the universal feeling like you have to take on the world and all of its problems while juggling your blackness and womanhood and a multitude of other roles. Being a black superwoman, your world is about doing more, taking on more. Feelings of exhaustion, depression, and fatigue are skirted to the side as we prove that we can defy any and all expectations. The Black Superwoman syndrome has been romanticized over the years and has been seen as a badge of honor that black women wear as they tackle daily life. But the reality, though, is far more serious and not as honorable. No one truly knows where the black woman super syndrome was birthed, although it could be traced back to slavery times. As white, cis hetero patriarchal and imperialism tore African families apart and forced them into slavery, black women were forced to become the head of the household. And this is where we're going to talk about where men come in and why we had to take that role as head of the household. In many families, having to be the parent, the primary provider, and the one keeping the family unit together. Even as slavery ended, the societal attack on African Americans, many African American men were left with deep emotional, physical, and mental scars and wounds that left many women forced to not only continue to be the rock of the family, but also an anchor, support, and nurturer for the adult Black man. I'm going to say that again. She also had to become the anchor, the support, and nurturer for the adult Black man. Generations of Black women were forced to step up regardless of their own emotional, physical, and mental scars. And in this present day, unfortunately, Black women are still being pushed into the role of African Americans as mother, lover, wife, and Black freedom fighter and activist, among many other roles. So I just felt this author of this article was right on. She hit on everything that either I've seen in my own life and have definitely seen in plenty other women's lives, from the effect that it has on women to have to take that role, still dealing with the trauma of the Black man, because we know that during slavery he was broken. You know, he was whipped until he was broken. He was abused until he was broken. He was worked until he was broken. And it often, the Black women had to watch, which to me, in my opinion, sowed a seed of resentment in the Black woman for the Black man. That was deeply rooted in that has deep historical roots.
I agree, sister. And you know, when you were reading that article, when you read that part twice about being anchor and support, you know, it brought to mind to me about also parenting, because sometimes sisters are put in the role, even though she's an adult and her man is an adult, she's like a parent, because he, for whatever reason, has arrested development, you know, and maybe they both do. But if it comes down to it, she's the one doing the parenting role, and he's the one that is being parented. I'm not saying that it's taken or anything, that whatever she says sticks, but she takes that responsibility.
Right.
She's going to monitor how much he drinks. She's going to see how late he's been out, you know, how much money, you know, he's spent on X, Y, or Z, that type of thing.
Yes.
So so I understand about the resentment you're talking about, and it's true, because, you know, you want to have two adults in a relationship, not just one, and definitely not a parent. That's a way to build up resentment. So, wow, that's some heavy stuff you just read.
I know. When I was going over information for the show today, I was just being blown away, because I was just like, we do bottle all of this up. We don't. We know it exists, but we don't really put a name to it, or we don't really recognize it as a medical type of condition that deals with anxiety, depression, stress, which we know can lead to different types of illnesses and diseases.
Right. Absolutely.
So, like, who do we go to?
Pressure, heart disease.
You know, where is our doctor to help us with our Black Superwoman syndrome? What is the remedy?
This is part of the issue. We try to self-medicate, many of us.
Exactly.
You know, many of us overeat. You know, we're addicted to shopping or drinking or street drugs. I mean, some people, it could be anything. Addiction is one of those silent type things that anything can be an addiction. Anything. So, wow. I think sisters just try to go along to get along. It's like, okay, well, I'll make myself feel better. I'll just stop over here and buy a little something. You know, it's on sale. You know, it's not going to cost me too much. I'm just going to go ahead and it makes her feel better. And then she's on to the next thing that she has to do.
Yes. But it is definitely, along with all the other things that that Black women go through, and I'm focusing on Black women. I know that women in general, we suffer from disparities, but this is Dr. Harris' Black Lives Matter show, and so most of the time, a high percentage of the time, we're going to put the microscope in and elevate the needs, concerns of Black people, because we are often dismissed, ignored, and we have to speak louder, and we have to speak more, and we have to focus on what we can do amongst our own, whether it's mixed race or Black. So I don't want to dismiss that other women suffer from having these extra expectations and definitely disproportionate expectations, but in line with the show and in line with Black Lives Mattering, I'm putting the focus on Black women and the Black Superwoman syndrome.
I'm glad you said that, Sister Maria, because people have to understand that even the medical community did not look on Black women as subject matter to study. I mean, for the longest time, it was only white males that were studied, that they did medical research on to find out about different diseases. And so when you start talking about the food chain, sisters are way down at the bottom on that.
Right.
So I appreciate you pointing that out to the listeners. That's very important, but sometimes it has to be about us before anybody else.
Right. So we talked a little bit about some of those characteristics that make up this Black Superwoman syndrome, that feeling of being tired and fatigued, but not something that can be remedied by a quick nap. This is a deep-seated tired. I have to go on day after day with my grief. I have to go on day after day with my pain. I have to go on day after day with my anxiety. I have to go on day after day with whatever type of racism or discrimination that I'm facing as a Black woman. And if I get upset and angry and I start speaking out, then I'm going to be shunned and put in another stereotypical category of the angry Black woman, when this is telling us that we need to be saying enough. No. I had Janet Capella, I talked to her from time to time, and one day I just wasn't feeling too good, and it was kind of down. And so as we talked about why I was feeling this way, a lot of it just came from me not saying no. That I was doing enough and I had enough to do. And so she reminded me that no is a complete sentence.
Wow.
So I don't have to explain and go more in depth and make a complete sentence out of no. No by itself is a complete sentence, just as well as yes. So I had to practice using no as my complete sentence. It didn't have to have no because, it was just no. And if I had to say that sentence more than once, then I say it more than once. But the sentence is no. You ask again, no, I can't do it. I don't have time to do it.
I really like that. That is awesome, because I know a lot of us women are socialized to just say, okay, well, let me see what I can do, or okay, I can do it. I like that. And
then we feel horrible if we fall short of doing it when we know initially that we didn't have the time anyway, or the capacity to do it, just the mental capacity or emotional capacity to get it done.
That's true. And sister, what is it that makes us not want to ask for help when we know women who might be willing to help us.
Is
that? Yeah.
In one of the studies that I was reading, it said that when we ask for help, or if we go out and seek help, that we feel that we will be looked at as weak. And the whole part of the Black Superwoman syndrome is to appear, even in our weakness, that we are not weak. So that is why we won't ask for help. That is why we won't share some of our pains and sorrows and burdens, because unfortunately, I wish it was just as easy as saying, well, just stop carrying all of that and start talking to people and letting them know what you need. But this Black Superwoman syndrome is not only something that we suffer from, but it's a stereotype that is ingrained in others. It's ingrained that we are the superwoman to our Black men. They look at us as we're the superwoman. We can bounce back from everything a lot of the times. I'm not saying, I'm talking just in general. I'm not talking, for those different outliers. This is just in general. We know white men in power have definitely, don't care. So I think everybody is looking for us to be that superwoman, and it's ingrained in them that we are that superwoman. So we can't, it is very vulnerable to go out and say, I'm not handling this well. I'm depressed. I can't even focus on getting my work done or getting tasks completed because I just have so much that I'm taking on. Because the reality is, people do expect us to take those things on.
And historically, sister, this is just my opinion, everybody. So listeners, this is my opinion. But historically, it puts me in mind of the fact that white women, European, Caucasian women, were looked at to be protected, put on a pedestal, sheltered. Black women were not thought of that way. We were mules. It was like, well, how much can I load up on her before she's going to just sit down in the road and not move. So the whole historical approach to our womanhood has been different. And we have dealt with that. We've gone on with that. But, enough is enough. And I think that's one of the reasons why when I was in college in the late 70s, I wasn't buying into this whole feminist movement, because I thought, okay, they're talking about white women. They're not talking about sisters who are already doing everything.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So we were superwomen even back then. And so, I just think the whole stereotypical approach to Black womanhood versus white womanhood is interesting and set up the framework for the Black Superwoman syndrome.
Okay, I have another caller. I'm going to see if they want to call in to speak. Share your story. If you have a poem, if you have something uplifting to help us deal with some of these emotions that we keep silent, please call in, share that tonight. We will make time for you to do that. So let me see if this caller would like to speak or just listening. Caller 0456.
Hi, Maria. It's me. It's Anthony Cheney.
Hey, welcome back.
Hey. How are you?
Good.
Well, this topic is very, very interesting. I won't, say the name of my organization, but you do know who I work for. I am the only African American. I'm going to say Black. I'm not even going to use African American. I'm the only Black person in my office, and my presence is strong. I don't even have to speak, and my presence is strong. And it's not strong because I'm speaking. My presence is strong by the way I carry myself. My presence is strong because I'm confident. My presence is strong because I show, when I come in, I show that my sleeves are rolled up and I'm ready to dive in there and put out any fire. So my presence itself speaks volumes. And I have my days where I will let my colleagues who are white and Hispanic, I will let my colleagues do something first. I will let my colleagues do second, third, fourth, fifth. And all the while I'm saying to myself, man, if I did that, I would never get away with it, because
Right.
I am a black woman. So sometimes I challenge the system. Now, when I say the system, I'm not talking about an SOP, a standing operation procedure. I'm not talking about the employee handbook. I'm talking about the system. Okay?
Yeah, we know that system.
And then you know what the system is. So they would do something, and then I would do it. And it's like, call me, Sandy, why did you do that? And I'm like, I'm sorry. I thought it was okay to do it because, so she did it, he did it. Well, it's not okay. I said, is it not okay because I did it, or is it not okay, period?
Ooh.
And I stand up to that. I challenge the system. Now, I'm not insubordinate to the standing operation procedure. I'm not insubordinate to what's in the employee handbook. I am here to be insubordinate to the system that's in place. I can hear my colleagues. I can hear my colleagues and see them highly upset about something that happened. They'll scream, throw things, slam doors, or whatever. But now I'm upset about something. Oh, you're angry. And like you said, you're being an angry black woman. You're being angry. I'm like, whoa. I said, we all have emotions. I said, you know what? The other day, just last week, you were upset at something that didn't go right. And you were very upset. It was very visible. What do you call that? What was that? What was that emotion that you were demonstrating that day? Because whatever that emotion was, that's where I am now. And guess what? You're not black. So what was that called when you do it?
Yes.
Because it's not that it's a black thing. It's an emotional. We all go there. And I don't like that when people say, oh, she's a strong black woman. No one ever put the word strong in front of a white woman. Oh, she's a white woman.
Right.
Say, oh, she's a leader. No one ever put the word strong. So I like the word strong in front of describing me as a black woman.
Yes.
It could be condescending in itself.
Yes.
Even if you have a mate, even if you're married in your own household, and you do have you're very confident, you're very, how should I say, qualified, you're very skilled, you're educated. You're just like any other person that carries a degree or master's, whatever. But for some reason, people want to use the word, and I'm sorry if people like, well, what is he talking about? So that word, strong black woman, I think that's, to me, that can be condescending.
It definitely can be used in a condescending manner. Yes.
Why do we always have to be, oh, she's a strong black woman? No. Why can't we be an educated woman? Why can't we be a leader? Why can't we be a mover and shaker? Why can't we be a stakeholder? Why can't we be, how should I say, very maternal for our kids and our young family members? Why say, oh, she's a strong black woman? That is a stereotype. I don't like that. When people describe me, don't describe me as a strong black woman. You describe me as I am. I see strong as in strength, as in muscle, as in weight.
Yes.
Use it for that.
Yes. Use it for what it's supposed to be used for.
When you don't cater to the stereotype that's in their head, because that's their expectation, and you are not doing their expectation, so you are, a disruptor for them, and that's wonderful.
But I tell you this. I've been with my company for 13 years, and Maria, you know who I work with.
Yes.
And the president emeritus, who's been with the same company for over 50 years, about 55, 56 years, he came to me and he said, you are the longest or you have been in that desk longer than anyone in that position. He said, you have been there the longest. And to me, that is the highest compliment. You know, everyone else, he said, oh, they've been there a year, they've been a year and a half, they can't cut it. And he said, you have something that the others, you know, couldn't pay for.
Right.
Couldn't pay to have. And he said to me, you have likability. People like you. And to me, that was the best compliment ever, because in my business, I have to raise funds. I have to go out there and ask for money, you know, and I don't come off as a strong black woman, you know, give me the money or whatever.
Yes.
I come off as an intelligent. I come off as a mover and shaker, a leader, confident, you know, and in the businesses I work with, I have to raise $4.1 million, well, 4.3 now, you know, a year. And that's not easy. And if I was an angry, black, strong woman like some people try to
stereotype, yes.
I wouldn't be where I am, you know. So I don't like that word. I don't like that stereotype when someone say, oh, you know, you're a strong black woman. Or even when I show confidence, someone called me cocky one day. Oh, you're being cocky. I said, am I confident or am I cocky? Which one is it? And I said, you know, I work in groups. I work in projects. I sit on boards. I sit on committees. And if they're trying to delegate a task to someone, and if someone says, you know what, I'll take that. I'll take on that task. You know what? To me, that's confidence. That's a positive response. You know, but if I say, you know what, I'll do it. I can do it. I can handle that job. Don't look at me and say I'm cocky. You know, I want to do that job because I'm qualified to handle that task. I'm qualified to handle that task. And the thing about it is, in my 10-year year with that company, no one has ever seen me roll my eyes, which is stereotype, roll my neck while I'm talking with my fingers pointing. They have never seen me do that. And you know what? They won't see it happen. They've never seen it happen. If I have something to say to someone, I will approach them one-on-one, but I approach them in a comical way. You know, I'm very comical. That's why
This is Aline. Can I ask you a question? When you come into work, and I'm not trying to be one way or another.
No, come on. No, it's okay.
Okay. When you're coming into work, before you leave your house, you get in your car, you're going to work, do you feel like you're suiting up in armor to go there?
I set for armor for work, not just for work. I set for armor, period. I pray every morning. But it's not just for my job. It's before I get up, before my feet hit the floor. I you know, and I wouldn't want to work with to be honest with you, I wouldn't want to work for an organization where I have to put on the full. I mean, I would not want to work for an organization where I have to do that. So that doesn't even cross my mind, to be honest with you. But
well, that's good, because a lot of us have had to do it.
No, I don't. But there are days where there could be tension because of an unfinished business or unfinished comment or unfinished incident that happened the night before or the day before. Now, I could prepare myself in prayer for that, but I don't go in with a dog with my tail, you know, between my legs. No. When I go in, I go in.
No. I didn't mean that. I mean putting on your suit of armor.
I probably went too far by, you know, giving that analogy. But no, I don't like, oh my gosh, let me pray before I go there. But what I do is I pray for the organization as a whole. I pray for them. I'm good. You know, like let me pray for them. Whatever they're going through, whatever someone they have in their heart, whatever negativity or vomit or whatever they got going on that's unbeknownst to me, I pray for them. But I also pray to God to give me the word, speak through me, you know, to whatever they're going through. I don't, you know, but no, as far as me, like, oh, I'm here another day, you know, I don't feel like that. But
that's great.
But I do, like I said, before you ask your question, before I approach someone, especially when there's tension there, they probably expect me to come off strong with my neck rolling, my eyes, and excuse me, I want to talk to you. No, I don't approach that way. I'm going to tell you how I approach. And Maria can vouch for this. I'll say, hey, boo, what's up with you? Come here, let's talk. Now, and that's what they all call me in the office. Honey, baby, boo, or sweetie. Because that's me. That's my personality. They'll walk in my office, hey, boo, hey, boo. Even the president, the vice president. The president of America calls me Sunshine. Hey, Sunshine, can I talk to you for a minute? So they know that I'm a kind-hearted person.
Right.
But sometimes some of them tap into that system. When I get upset, they tap in that system. And I have to remind them, I'm just like you. If something is bothering me, I'm going to feel disappointed. I'm going to have some sort of dissatisfaction. I'm going to feel a certain way. Am I angry? No. I'm probably disappointed. I'm probably upset. But you're not going to sit here and call me the angry black. And I have been called an angry black woman by someone in a leadership position. But I had to close the door.
Yeah.
I had to close the door and talk to him one-on-one and reminded him, you were yelling at employees. You were slamming your door. What was that? What was that? Was that anger? What was that? Well, I was mad because
Bingo, right. Hello, do I still have both callers? Okay, I'm not sure what happened. Sometimes this Blog Talk Radio just kicks people off of the show. So if I could have Aline call back in, I'll hang you up and have you call back in if you can, please. Sandra, same thing. If you would like to call back in, please. We had Sandra on the line. We had Aline on the line. I'm going to see if I can get them back in when they call back in. We often have some difficulties with the Blog Talk after a little while. So I'm just going to kind of recap some of the things that was mentioned tonight. One being that this Black Superwoman syndrome is a real syndrome, and medically, it talks. We went over some of the health risks that it causes, and so I have them calling back in. So I'm gonna see if I can get them back in and on the air. Okay, caller 0456. Do I have you back? Zero 0456. Okay, I am not sure what is going on with the Blog Talk, but I will, like I said, I'll continue just to summarize what we talked about, that this stereotype, this Black Superwoman syndrome, can have all kinds of effects, and it's really rooted in biases, really rooted in discrimination. We had Sandra who mentioned that she doesn't even like being called a strong Black woman, because that in itself is condescending. So I would just like to ask a question. So on the first, I said, how do we define a super Black woman? So we talked about some of those things that have catered to this notion of black women, the black woman being oh so super strong. They can take everything, deal with everything. They can deal with anger and keep it in. And if they don't, then they're the angry black woman. When really what they are is just angry, an emotion that everybody has when they've been pushed so far or fed up or done wrongly, and they call that out. And that's what Sandra was saying that she was doing, was calling some things out, and was still considered this, called this angry black woman. I know me on my job, I'm often asked to do tasks that they feel a strong black woman will do. I have to deal with any of the behavior issues that the African American participants may be dealing with, instead of somebody else talking to them about this emotion of anger, this emotion of grief, this emotion of loss. If they are black, and sometimes even if they're not black, they say, well, Maria can deal with that. Maria, can you go talk to this person? Maria, can you calm this person down? So even in the workplace, we are often expected to do tasks and it's not called because we are. And it's not that because, like Sandra brought out, it's not Maria is skilled at youth development. Maria has a particular way that she's been able to deal with young people because of her experience in youth development. It's more like they're black, you're black, you can deal with them, and we can't. And that's unfortunate because it's really taken away from the participant and the experience they can get. So where does the black man fit into this black superwoman role? Does it take a black superman to support or give the type of relief of this stereotype, this relief from this black superwoman syndrome? Does that what is the black man's role? And do we leave him out? So I'm going to see if I can get the caller back in. Caller 0456. Okay. So once again, I'm not really sure what's going on with the blog talk, but some of you that are listening live, what about black men? What is their role, and how can they help us to piece up some of these stressors and strains that our black women have? Because as we stated earlier in the show, this has historical roots. This was created from historical roots of us having to take the brunt of pain, the brunt of the absence of the men, and we know a lot of our men are incarcerated. And Sandra, I'm going to check and see. Can you hear me? Caller 0456. Well, I know you can hear me because of live, but let me see. Caller 0456, are you speaking? No, Sandra, I'm not muted, but I'm not sure what's going on and why the call was dropped. I'm going to see if I can bring another caller in. Caller 3413. Okay, so since I'm not able to hear the callers on, okay, I have caller 3413. I'm not able to hear you. And caller 0456, I'm not, also Sandra, I'm not able to hear you either. So if you could please, if you have some remarks or some questions or answers to the question I asked, where does the black man fit into this? Where does he fit into this black superwoman syndrome? We know that, well, one thing I do want to say is that we have had, our fathers make a difference. Our men do make a difference. When they are actively involved in the lives of their children, it makes a tremendous difference. We know that black infant mortality, we have high rates, the highest in Fresno of black infant mortality. And one thing that they found that was an indicator of the health of a child that is born, along with the health of the mother who is carrying the child, is the father's positive involvement, that he is taking interest. He's going to the doctor's appointments with mom, that he is making sure that she has healthy food around. And then this is throughout, and that he's not causing her those stresses and strains, that he is contributing financially. When a man does that, that tremendously increases the likelihood that a woman will carry the baby in more healthy terms, because some of the factors that go along with black infant mortality is the stress and strains that black women often have and carry before they're pregnant, and is intensified, as they're pregnant, as their body is working harder, more blood is pumping, their heart is working more. So it causes a natural fatigue. But if you compound that with emotional trauma and abuse, in the absence of someone who is able to be there to help the woman through as she's going through this pregnancy. I'm sorry, Dr. Harris, I tried to get you in, but I can't hear you. I can put you in with the mic, but it won't allow me to hear you. So I'm sorry for the glitches with the Blog Talk Radio. Yes, I figured that was you. So let me try one more time. Okay, I have you in 3413, Dr. Harris. If you're speaking, I cannot hear you. I really would like you folks' input. It was really getting good before we start having this this problem with the Blog Talk. I'm sorry. I know I'm killing you with the Blog Talk. It's Blog Talk. It's not me. I did everything right. It's the Blog Talk. It's having technical difficulties, not me. I'm going to figure it out next time. It seems like it only wants to keep people on an hour, then it starts kicking people off the show. So I'm not sure. Maybe we have to condense it to just an hour. But just what I just wanted to say was that we start to realize the increasing role of the black man in helping with overall health. Studies also show that the whole family takes on the health habits that the father takes on. So if dad is exercising, if dad is practicing good hygiene, it's likely that the entire family is practicing good hygiene, that the entire family is practicing good health. And studies don't find the same for mom. So mom could be practicing good hygiene, good health, but the kids don't recognize it as much as they recognize when dad does it. When fathers are involved in the lives of their children are not only likely to graduate from high school, but they're likely to graduate and complete college. They report being happier. They report being healthier as adults when they've had a highly involved or actively involved father in their life. And this father doesn't even have to be in the home. It's just that he's consistent. So if he's seeing them once a week or twice a week or 2 times a month, that he consistently, Dr. Harris, don't make me laugh. Okay, I'm trying to get through this show and finish up so we have a complete show. I'm not trying to kill you. But they find out that the child in adulthood even reports being healthier, less depression, less cases of mental illness, and they are usually more financially set up and stable when dad has been consistently and actively involved in their child's life. So part of killing this superwoman this Black Superwoman who we found out is not necessarily, this stereotype is not good for us. This is actually damaging to our health. I'm sorry, you're the founder. Yes, you can't get on your own show. Sorry. So we do need to encourage the involvement of our Black men in the families, in our children's lives, even if we are no longer with that person or separated or divorced or whatever the case may be. It's very important that our Black men are fathers in general, but this is Dr. Harris Black Lives Matter show, so we focus on Black people and how things impact us as Black people on this show. I think that needs to be encouraged, and I think more men need to understand the difference that they make, the difference they make in the health of the family, the health of the woman, and his overall health and happiness. One thing that I found interesting when I was going through this, I'm like, if Black women have so much stress, so much strain on themselves, then I wonder, is it in this depression, let me check out the suicide rates. Is that leading to us, harming ourselves, hurting ourselves? And it was interesting because as much as we go through as Black women, they find that we have the lowest rates of suicide, not only in the nation, but in the world. Dr. Harris is putting out May 1st protests for our folks that are locked up, our folks that are undocumented and incarcerated. We will be doing a protest, a drive-by protest, and also through social media. So I just wanted to put that out really quick. Also, before we end, I just want to give a shout out to our listeners, our viewers, Joe Martinez, my friend, Pamela. Well, I haven't seen you in forever. Robin Lewis, definitely wishing you the best up there in Washington, the state of Washington. Hope you're taking care of yourself, doing well. Benny Holloway, thank you for tuning in. Sandra, thank you for tuning in and also calling in and giving us your perspective. Cousin Cheryl McCrae, Regan Sumler, thank you for watching and sharing the show. Aline Reed, I hate that you got kicked off. We are going to find out what's going on with Blog Talk, and so we can get this straightened out. We might have to protest Blog Talk Radio, move to another medium. Crystal, Sister Crystal, thank you. Please keep me in your prayers because I know you're a prayer warrior. And our founder, Dr. Harris, thank you. Sorry that you couldn't get into your own show. Celeste, hey, we wanted you on the show last week because we know you exposed that they had not put a Black person on that reopening, that COVID-19 reopening committee that Mayor Brand put together. And it's so funny because 2 days later they tried to say, oh, look at the mayor. He put a Black person, on the committee. And like he just really thought this, and we know it was the social media pressure and the backlash for them not doing that. So even though they're trying to take the credit and act like they did something valiant, they didn't. Michelle Smith, I just want to read this because it's going to get me back on track to where I was going. Men are the foundation. In my family, my daddy, husband are the grounding base for successful, strong women. Yes, Michelle. And that's what I don't like about this Black Superwoman syndrome, because it still caters into those things that Black women had to do, not by choice, not because Black men wanted them to do it, but we had to do it because we had no other choice. And it was out of survival that we had to take on this, what we now call the Black Superwoman syndrome. Our men didn't want to be absent. They were forced to be absent. And it's had detrimental effects that affect us to this day, even though they were rooted in slavery. But our Black men are definitely, to me, part of this solution of loosening this Black Superwoman and bringing in and accepting the role and the value that even research tells us that fathers bring to the home, and especially Black homes, where we know that a number of things from systemic to slavery roots of things that have prevented our Black men from serving and being in the homes and taking on the things that they can take on to not only make our families better, but to make us better overall in our communities across the nation. So men don't often get that recognition that they are definitely needed. They're especially when we've had children with them. They're especially needed. The children need them, but we need them healthy. And just as Black women have some traumas that often are silenced and we keep in, Black men have traumas that they keep in. They're told that if they seek help, that they're weak. If they need to reach out or cry, that they're not strong. And it's just not the truth. It's just not the truth. So I really wanted the input, of, and then, so let's see. Then they need to be talking about it. Yes, we definitely need to be initiating dialogue. Next Tuesday, I really would like to continue this conversation and get more people to call in, and let's start exploring how our Black men can help. How can we help one another? I mean, we really need one another, especially now. And I think we get away from that. The Black Superwoman is independent of a man. And like I said earlier, I'm not trying to say any one gender is responsible for another's happiness or even success. But they definitely together, and when they work together, can be a force to be reckoned with, and can pull and build those things in their family that makes their whole family skills and talents be put to use and propel them forward from their overall well-being, their overall health. So let's next Tuesday, let's explore a little more on this topic, the expectations, and how do we come together? How do we bring back in our Black men and empower them? And so we are also empowered to kind of live free of these expectations that are often unrealistic and often used, as Sandra talked about, in a condescending way, and that we've also explored tonight, that is detrimental and affects our health. It affects our mental health. It stresses us out. And we already suffer from so many high instances of different diseases and illnesses. We don't need to add one more thing to that plate. So thank you all for tuning in. I promise that I'm going to get better with this Blog Talk Radio, or we're going to put in a formal complaint to Blog Talk Radio for kicking off our valued hosts and our valued folks that are calling in and just sharing themselves, sharing their experiences. That's what we need, and we need the dialogue and more of it. And so we build stronger relationships. I spoke earlier during a conference call, and they were saying, hey, we're willing to extend a relationship. And I said, that's not enough. You need to extend a healthy relationship, because just because it's a relationship doesn't mean it's healthy. So what does a healthy relationship look like? Let's explore that. For next Tuesday. What is a healthy relationship? How do we create those with our men and women? And so please be safe. Take care of yourselves. Practice self-care beyond a spa. Let it be something where you meditate, where you write, where you haven't written in a while, where you just listen to those songs that you need to listen to uplift you. Watch that funny movie that'll make you laugh. And Victor, I have no idea what you're talking about, but God bless you. So God bless us all. Let's all be safe. Once again, I would like to thank Dr. Harris for creating this platform, and every Tuesday let me take over the platform. And so have a good night, have a good week. I will talk to you all next Tuesday when we explore healthy relationships. What does that look like for our Black couples, our Black families, and our Black community? So peace, God bless, and I'm out.